energy, energy, energy. I believe that TV and film and anything you watch can change your life for the better. I also believe that what you watch can negatively impact you. Keep watching if you want to find out how to tell if a TV or film might not be really good for your mental health. Hi, I'm Christine, the middle-aged fangirl. I have or have had depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And film and fandom are a big part of what keep me sane. I talk about my favorite TV shows and the awesomeness of fandom and mental health issues because those are the things that help keep me alive, and maybe they can help you too. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts called Buffering the Vampire Slayer, and I'll have a link down below to that. A couple of months ago, the two co-hosts were talking about what shows they had to stop watching. One of them said they couldn't watch The Walking Dead anymore because it was too gory. The other one said they couldn't watch a show called Making a Murderer because it was, quote, affecting her soul. This got me thinking. I talk about how film, TV, and fandom can help you, but it can also really hurt you. I love gothic thrillers, but I can only take so much gore. I had to stop watching a British show called Penny Dreadful because it was just too gory. And as much as I love, worship, and adore Bruce Campbell, I haven't quite had the guts to watch Ash vs. the Evil Dead yet. Of course, this isn't anything new. There's a legendary X-Files episode from the 90s called Home. It's about a family in rural Pennsylvania that's been inbreeding for 100 years and has no compunction about killing anyone in really, really brutal and gruesome ways. That show affected me so much it was an entire season before I could watch X-Files again. But there are darker and more damaging things than gore. Things that are more insidious because you don't notice them right away. Because they're not obviously gory, but there's something about them that makes your heart feel heavy. I want you to consider that people with depression, anxiety, generally any mental health issues, have to consider what they watch as a part of their self-care. Twice in recent memory, I've had to stop watching shows that I was watching on Netflix because I realized that they were affecting me and making me feel worse than I even usually did. They were both thrillers/murder mysteries and were intelligently written and brilliantly acted and got great reviews. But they also shared one other characteristic. Neither of the shows had a single character that I liked, that had a sense of right and wrong or a moral center. The first show, Dexter, is about a serial killer who channels his psychopathic tendencies into only killing people who deserve it, whatever that means. He was kind of a serial killer with a code. Now, it didn't bother me that Dexter's psychopathy was painted as something he couldn't help and couldn't control. I mean, I watch Criminal Minds, which makes me feel sympathy for the unsubs all the time. And I suffer from mental illness, so I really can't say that, oh, Dexter, it's all your fault, or else I have to say mine is my fault too. Nor did it bother me that I was supposed to root for a serial killer. In his own way, Dexter, who could feel no right or wrong or remorse or anything because he was a psychopath, tried to live by a code as best he could. And he couldn't feel anything, so he tried to live by a code someone else had given him. So my problem wasn't with Dexter. My problem was that the rest of the characters were thoroughly unlikable. I just have to assume that everywhere, even in a police station, there are people with pleasant personalities and a general sense of right and wrong. I made it through 2 seasons of Dexter, and I started to try and watch the third, but my hand just wouldn't turn on the television. It wouldn't press the remote. It was the first case, but not the last, of my body knowing something was wrong before I did. The second show I had to stop watching is called How to Get Away with Murder. If all the characters on Dexter were unlikable, the characters on How to Get Away with Murder were completely self-absorbed and amoral and only interested in what could benefit them. I got through one season of How to Get Away with Murder before my remote hand, again, just simply would not turn it on. During the time that I was watching these shows, my whole worldview was affected. I found it harder to believe that people had any good in them. I assumed that all people, if left alone, would revert to no morals and obsessive self-preservation, basically Lord of the Flies. I felt like I was living in some alternate universe where Samwise Gamgee said, "There's no good in this world, Mr. Frodo. There's nothing worth fighting for." When I stopped watching these shows, my outlook gradually improved. Now, being selective about what you watch is important for everyone, but it's especially important for people who suffer from mental illness or mental health issues. They have to practice something called self-care, which is monitoring how our minds and emotions and body are feeling frequently throughout the day and addressing any small changes before they become big issues. And it's not a black and white issue. It's not about whether a show is gory, it's about its worldview. A seemingly wholesome family show can have a thoroughly materialistic value where it's all about what you have and what you own and what you wear, whereas a show that is actually fairly dark can make you feel like, yeah, everybody can make a difference and there is good in the world and I can fight for that. So how do you tell if a show isn't good for you? Well, the first thing to do is to listen to your body. If your body is telling you to get away from that television set, listen to it. If you find yourself starting to really view the world negatively, then stop watching a show and see if that improves in a couple weeks. And this is really hard, but care enough about yourself to say, even though this is a really popular show and everybody's watching it, I can't. No matter how critically acclaimed it is. TV shows are like everything else. There's always something in that everybody's watching. But if it's not good for you, turn it off. I have never watched Walking Dead and never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. And I do kind of feel really left out. But that much gore and violence affects me emotionally. So the question for this video is, what shows have you had to stop watching because they were affecting you? Or what shows do you think you should stop watching and just can't do it yet? If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. This is a very awkward movement for me to do this because I never do it. If this video helped you even just a little bit, please consider subscribing because this is what I talk about all the time: film, fandom, and mental health. Thanks for watching.